all of you, and welcome to this session on instructional design. Last time we had a fairly interactive session. So, would somebody like to summarize the learnings of the last session? Who would like to do that? Yeah. Anybody who is raising hand? Oh, okay, no one is raising hand, so no problem. We'll give this opportunity later on, right? Uh, what we are doing last time, and we begin with, is the content development. That is developing the content for the training program, right? So that's a fairly elaborate work, time consuming, and it takes a lot of effort to really put in place a good training program or develop it. Now, that is all the activities before the training actually starts. So, preparation for the training. That's what it is. So there will be some type of issues which will be administrative, that is arranging the hall, etc. But there will be there will be this whole issue of developing the content. So we focus on content development. Today's session, what we have will be having is designing a session. So now we are getting into more of a micro issue. Now, in designing the session, I'm going to do certain things today, which is from the point of view of the design. But a lot of learning on this you are going to get in the semester two, when you are going to do these two sessions, two courses. One is on the presentation skills, and the other one is on the facilitation skills, right? So that's where you will get much more detail. So today's session would essentially be a curtain raiser for them, and also very much a part of what we should be doing in terms of sort of design of the session. So uh, I intend to do two things today, apart from designing the session. That is getting into a model, which is Gagner Briggs model. I would also look at, when you design a program for diversity of the uh, the audience means your participants are uh, forming a diverse group. So what do you do? How do you handle that situation? So these will be the two things which I intend to do today, and I would like to sort of take your if there are any questions in between also and later also, right? So let me share this, my PPT and so yeah. Okay, right. So the mm, whole this part of this session is about aligning training design with the learning process. Right? Okay, let me get this full screen. So this is the 9 events of instruction, Gagner-Briggs model, and it is given there in the Blanchard's book. Your group hasn't got that book, but if you are able to handle get hold on that, it is given there on in one section. Now, essentially, what we are looking at it that there are 9 instructional events, and they cause the training to do something. For example, the first instructional event is gaining attention of all the participants. So the trainee will be focusing on the trainer and and or training material. So bringing them to, and making them pay attention to all that, because when you start the session at that point of time, people are doing multiple things. Somebody has been phoning up, somebody has just come back from the outside the bathroom, or somebody has just picked up a cup of tea, etc., etc. They are talking amongst themselves, etc. They are like, okay, the session is going to start. So the first step is to start gaining the attention, and the trainee starts that focusing on the trainer or the training material. The second instructional event which comes is that telling them the purpose of this session, means what is our goal in this 1.5 hour or so, what we are really going to do. This is in fact important from the point of view that yes, people are all adults are goal oriented, and they would like to be clear as to what exactly are they going to achieve in this, right? So that's the informing. This uh, step will make the people focus on the goal, that the learning goal or the learning need that they have, which will be fulfilled. The another thing is that all the participants in the audience, all the participants, they are adults and they come with a different type of experiences, and they are not all at zero level in your subject. They have something what is called the prior knowledge. Now we have done this in another, not in this paper, but in another paper. What are the importance of the what this adult learning, right? What are the challenges of adult learning? And in that, our participants want to be acknowledged that they have prior knowledge, and they would like to begin to connect with the prior knowledge. So the third step is we start recalling, or we start stimulating them to recall what they already know about the subject, right? So that's important, and because they're not जैसे कहते हैं खाली घड़ा नहीं है. There's a they are already filled with some knowledge, some understanding of that subject. So it is always better to build on that or connect to that rather than start assuming that they know nothing, right? So stimulating recall of prior knowledge, that's another important thing. And here the trainee at this point of time is retrieving prior learning uh, to the working memory, means that's that's known, that's he or she remembers that. But what is called working memory means aware of it right now and here. Yeah, I would have learned this maybe 2 years ago, or I know about this. So there should be some opportunity for them to really share that what has been their experiences on that, right? What have been their knowledge, and what do you think is what they are looking for further, right? So you also get a sense from this that mm, how exactly you have to pitch your session, right? Now, the fourth instructional event is, in general, the presenting the material that you are sharing, the whatever you have to share, either as a presentation or otherwise, right? So you present the material, and trainee actually starts looking at it and also share understanding. But what really they do is they are always selective, uh, in the sense that whatever they think is important, they will explain it. Otherwise, they'll say, "हाँ, ये तो करा हुआ है, ये तो है ठीक है, ये ठीक है, no problem." So anything that comes out to be important and also new, that is what they start sort of focusing on, right? Fifth is you provide the learning guidance, that how this new knowledge which is being shared with them in the overall schema of the things, how it will be fitting and how they can really make good use of that, right? So that's in fact in terms of sort of how to really complete the understanding of the subject or enlarge the understanding of the concept, that area. That's what you are really helping them to do. The next what we do is, we start looking at it as, okay, so how do we use it, and how do we use it is that you start eliciting the performance from them. So now you have to have activity or something where they start sort of like using it, or trainee will be doing it, right? So from cognitive to now to that part. Now here we are not talking of experiential exercise. We are just saying, okay, that's something to be able to use it. Now we come to next. Seventh is, as they are using it and as they are performing in the simulated environment, you would be giving some amount of feedback. Now, this feedback can be positive or sort of negative. Positive feedback will reinforce the correct responses, and that will cement their understanding. In fact, one of the terms that we use it, that whatever is the learning, you have to make it stick. So if participant has learned something good and you are seeing that that has been learned well, your positive feedback essentially makes that learning stick, means that that is remembered by, or that is usable for the participants for all time to come, right? And providing a corrective feedback whenever you consider that that has been what, how they are using it, or otherwise that's incorrect, right? So that's the providing feedback. Now don't think of that this is all a 1 hour session, or this is a 90-minute session. Sometimes a one full session will be considered to be a 3 hour session, which might have a 15 minutes break in between. So, I mean, do not get sort of, a little overawed that how can I do all these 9 in one session itself? So, in some way or the other, you would be in fact doing all this, right? Okay, so many times we have a full session is more like a 3 hour session or so, right? Now, we have to now look at the eighth one, which is you are assessing the performance. Now, the question would be whose performance? It's in fact both way. It is also your own performance in the sense that how much trainees have really been able to learn and do. So, so in this stage, trainee is demonstrating what has been learned, and this is demonstrated by he or she completing some of the activities which you have designed for them, and that leads to your understanding whether they have performed well, and in turn, you know that if more number of participants in the session have performed well, then that is also an indication that you have performed well as a trainer, right? Now we come to the ninth one, last one, and which is enhancing retention and transfer. That's the terminology which that phrase I used was making it stick, is much more applicable here. That how do you know that this will be remembered or retained by the person, and how it will be transferred by him to the his work role, right? So that's the type of activities which you do in the ninth. So this is in fact the 9 events of instructions, and many of the trainers have found it to be quite useful, and it acts as a sort of a checklist when they have designed the session to figure out, have I taken care of all the 9 events in this or not? And if there is one or two which is missing or which is weak, then I can strengthen that further, right? So that's a model which is quite useful. It's found useful by quite a few people. Yes. So questions, comments, anything, anyone? Yeah. Yes. Go
I
ahead.
just, sir, just wanted to know about the sixth one, sir. I just missed that point. Guidance learning के बाद जो था, sir.
Acha. Okay. I'll go back to that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sixth one is
Yeah.
about eliciting the performance, which essentially is that they have understood the things, right? They have cognitively absorbed the knowledge and all that. Now the
Thank
question
you.
is, how do you make them use it? So there is some activity which you give them so that they start doing it. Now many times it can be a role play, or many times it can be some other sort of writing that how I am going to use it, etc., all that, right? Or maybe a specific situation which where you have to, where they have to make a choice, and they will be able to show by making the correct choice that they have really understood it. So that's the type of performance that we are really looking at. Yeah, Shivani wants to speak. Yeah, yeah. Shivani, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to know that while designing a training program, we need to cover all these 9 events. Is it?
Yeah, while designing a training session,
Yes.
it is not training program. Training program will be consisting of many sessions, but this is where we are coming to a one particular say session. In every session, there are these things which have to be done. And yes, from a point of view, yes, you can otherwise look at the total program also, whether the total program happens to be strong on all the 9 steps or not, right? But this
Okay.
is right now I'm focusing on the individual session design. Right.
Okay. And
Okay.
is it always has to be in a hierarchy?
See, things don't really flow or very sequentially. You know that many things are always very iterative, right?
Yes.
So, yes, you take these 9 steps which are there in this sequence, but there will be iteration, means there will be going back and forth and
Back and forth.
going,
Okay.
right? Okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
there,
Thank
there
you.
will be that. Yeah. Two more participants have raised hands. Yeah, can we have them? Yeah,
Hello.
yeah.
Good
Hello.
afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Sir, I wanted to understand about the point 5, providing learning guidance.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
sir, is it somewhere related to point 9, enhancing retention and transfer of knowledge?
Uh, yeah, see, the purpose is essentially to be able to transfer what they have learned in the work role, right?
Yes. Okay.
At this stage, it is an immediately when you have shared a new knowledge, new concept, etc. That is when you are providing guidance, not just to see how they will be using it, but otherwise in their whole scheme of things, as they look at the subject or as they look at the issue, how does it fit in the overall, the word here given is schema, means
Yes.
essentially the framework of knowledge that they are having in their own mind,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So that's in terms of absorbing it correctly and putting at the right place. In fact, I essentially give another metaphor for this. When we want a person to learn something, many
Yes.
times, in our sessions, we don't start with this is what it is, this is how you should know, etc., etc. No, before you give the knowledge, create a space for the knowledge. How do you create a space for knowledge? Is by asking a question. If the question is interesting, the person starts sort of wondering what it is. Right? I don't know, but I don't know means he has created a space in his mind, a room where the new knowledge will go and fit in, right?
Yes.
So there
Yes.
is always, as a trainer, you are always having, I can use a word, but don't think that it is like controlling the mind of your participants, right? You,
Yes.
in some way or the other, you are aware of what's going on in their mind and all that. So only a trainer who is very good at that can perceive, what is going on in the minds of their participants, is able to give a good training, right?
Yes.
So, right,
Thank
okay,
you, sir.
Good
yeah,
afternoon, sir. This is Arvind here.
yeah, Gurvind, yeah,
Uh,
Arvind,
I have a
go
question.
ahead.
When we are talking about the Garnier-Briggs 9 events of instruction,
Ah,
is it a mandate that we actually follow all the 9 events while we are designing a session? And the second is, do we have alternatives or other models, which we can actually utilize and to design the session?
yeah, you would obviously learn many, but at this point of time, I would say begin with this. At least it gives a very good, steps for the largely it gives a very good step for a what is cognitive type of session, in the sense that which is largely more of knowledge sharing type of session. Yeah. So I would also maybe not right now, but later on I'll share a design of a leadership session with you, and then maybe next time I'll do that because yeah, that's usually I do a 3 hour session, and then I'll tell you the points, etc., and then I'll tell you how the different pieces in that design of the session, what is the type of role that they perform, and overall for how we move from maybe a zeros or maybe some stage to a situation where a person can learn about the leadership, and also then start looking at how he or she can apply in their leadership role, right? So I'll share that maybe next time, and then I'll compare that with this 9 events of instructions and all that. Yeah, right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, right.
One more, just we have already read the Bloom's making of instructional design, sir. So this I find some similarity with the Bloom also, but how does like these two differentiate? Why and when, where to apply these differently, sir? That I was unable to recall.
Yeah, yeah. See, Bloom's model is for not the total instructional design. It is for instructional objectives,
Okay,
right? It is for instructional objective, which is just the first part of the instructional design,
okay,
right?
thank you, sir. Yeah.
Right? Okay, right.
Mm.
So we had done this Robert Megger's behavioral objective. Then we had done Bloom's model. They are for the essentially for the first part of the instructional design, which is setting the objective, right? And that
Right.
was setting the objectives of at a module level or at an overall training level, and also that can be used at a session level, right?
Right. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Okay, any other comments, questions, anything? Okay, if that is so, I can move on to now the second part of my session. And yeah, okay. Uh, the second part of my session is essentially about this, you know, we always find that in group of participants, there is always variation in a variety. There is a diversity. Now, how do we handle the diversities, right? So, before I get on to that session, I would like you to write down and share with me what are the factors on which the group would be diverse? So please go ahead. I give you uh, to make a list of factors on which we find the group are diverse. And then the question would be, how do we handle all that, right?
Sir, can you repeat? The sound got break.
Okay. See, my task you is that find our groups of trainees, that is participant groups, are having always a set of heterogeneity, means they are diverse. They are not same for for all the participants. So there is variation, right? Now that variation creates a challenge to the trainer, right? So I'd like to right now ask you to write down and make a list of factors on which our participant groups are diverse. Hope it is clear. So I'm putting it in the chat. I'm saying, yeah.
May I answer?
Okay, I'll give one more minute. Why? Because I have just written this. What are the factors or dimensions on which participants may be different, right? So some of the people who could not really listen to me very clearly. Okay, right. Okay, so yeah, who would like to share?
So I have few points to give it to my team. So the first one is the age. Like
Yeah.
young millennials are the current times in industry which are talking younger generation population, and the second one is the experienced one in terms of age. Also, they must be on a higher side. So grabbing ability and the logical putting forward the contents with the reason becomes even more important for them. So this is one differentiating factor. Second
Okay.
is the background. The background would be very diverse. It can be taken in a cultural background. In India, we have so many cultures. So their thoughts and the beliefs and the values are totally different. So how they combine with the training values and the company values, again, it is very different. So we have to put forward that standard in the values acceptability as a trainer.
Okay,
Then we
good.
have also the skills difference, sir.
Okay.
As more years of exposure in the same industry, and that can be an otherwise also the industry exposure difference. Like some might have come from pharma, some from other. They have different experience. So those
Okay.
experience of years and different experience again creates a lot of heterogeneity. The
Right.
fourth is the definitely the schema that is actually there for the current knowledge that we are providing would be different for that each individual depending on these factors. So, and of course, everybody knows that the qualification difference might also create a lot of challenges in terms of ego and other things to accept that I know more, and those things have to be created in a very normal manner. So these were 5 points of which I thought would be worth mentioning.
Oh, okay. Thank you. In fact, Mahima has written about few other things also. For example, learning style she has written, and area of interest she has written, and some of the things are overlapping, right? Okay. Some more people had raised hands, so would like to speak up. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
Yes.
this is Arvind. Ritu has wonderfully covered almost all the factors, but apart from that, I had that the learning style where apart from your knowledge and experience and wherever you come from, everyone has a different sort of learning style, and also the speed at which you learn. And
Okay.
apart from that, I also see another factor: attitude, the behavior. I mean, are we actually open towards that learning or not?
Right.
I would also consider it a very important factor when I'll actually thinking for organizing it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. In fact, I had put down some of these things only in my PPT for making them as a part of our, say, uh, point at which we can discuss. So this is designing training for diversity. In fact, that's always a big challenge because our people will not be all same, right? So, what are the factors? Okay, now remember one thing. This does not mean about diversity training. Diversity training has been used in a different sense, and that means that training people to live with diverse and handle diverse groups as a leader, as a manager, and also live with diverse groups, right? So that's a diversity training term as such is a little different than what we are talking right now. So what we are really looking at is the participant diversity factors or dimensions, and I had written certain things like this. Gender could be one. So how do we handle it? Does this really pose an issue? Anybody who would like to share? At hand, if it poses an issue, then how do you handle this?
Both examples, sir, we have to take examples. They should be unbiased. Like once we should tell he or she, like something. So we.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we should stay neutral, sir, while giving an example or while talking about any.
Okay. 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 Can you mute yourself because I think there is okay.
Hello?
There seems to be a lot of noise. So can uh, all the people who are not speaking should mute themselves.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sir Kinshuk here.
Yeah. Yeah. Kinshuk,
Yeah.
yeah. Please go ahead.
So while we discuss about the diversity factor in terms of gender, I mean, gender does not even pertain to being a male or a female. I mean, there is a complete set of LGBT group
Okay.
there. Now
Okay.
it is as such that in a particular diversified group, if I come across somebody who is very gender fluid, now as a trainer, how do I go ahead and I mean catch that person's mental state, that person's state of mind at that moment of time. So my objective of training is done. Now, assessment of the gender is not only based on being male or female, it is on various other factors these
Okay.
days.
Okay.
So I have to be neutral in that particular regard in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I get that. Can you mute yourself because it
Sure.
seems from your side there is a lot of yeah. Okay. Fine. I think his mic was creating some more noise, so that is why I asked him to mute himself. Right. See, Kinshuk, what you said, LGBT is not about gender, it's about sexual preferences. So we will have to differentiate between the two. Now, I would like to even take a very simple example. First of all, there should not be anything that you do or say which should be politically incorrect because it should be gender neutral, right? The other thing is, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I had gone to Srinagar, and I was doing a program for teachers, and there I found one thing that these were all Muslims. They were not no Hindu, but there the teachers were from the men also and women also. But the way they were sitting, though they were interacting amongst themselves, but the way they were sitting was that all women will sit at one table and another, so they had some round tables or this sort of tables which can seat 4, 5, 6 people, but they were having this sort of groups. It was not like in the same table there will be mixing up. Now, what one has to really understand is that in such cases, you have to be a little more sensitive. And this you will find even in the Middle East, in some areas, there will be this type of thing, segregation of the gender and all that. So here, group formation, etc. In that, you might have to be a little sort of sensitive. But at the same time, important thing is you need to be giving examples which are speaking in the language which is rather gender neutral. In fact, it is other way around. I'm when I write, I usually use the pronoun she rather than he, and I do write at some point in the article or in another place that because largely we have been using he and it has been a historical imbalance. So to correct the historical imbalance, I prefer to use the word he as the pronoun he, right? So but yes, the important thing is, in some places, this could be a little sensitive issue. Okay. Now we come to the issue of age. Yes, certainly there is this challenge, and if in the same program you have people who are 50-year-old and also people who are 25-year-old, there will be some challenges. And one of you was perhaps making this comment that millennials and things like that. So, would somebody like to share an example of how this sort of challenge creates a problem? Yeah, Arvind. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, I would like to share one experience which was recently faced by one of the pharma major, and so they had to work from the office during the COVID time,
Yeah.
and they actually wanted that all the people, because it was a research center for pharma, they wanted everyone to be very serious, and it also includes involves everyone to be present all the time. So they noticed somewhere that the millennials were not very serious, and somewhere the uh, understanding that they had for COVID was, that they are still very young and it is very risky to go to the office, so they do not want to, go to the office and start with their work, and it created a big threat in that organization. So usually, people who have been working for a long time, who are seniors, like 45 to 50 years, they actually understand the seriousness of their work, but the same seriousness may not be there up to a person who has recently joined any organization, and
Okay.
also because
So,
of the different values.
okay. So, can you give an example in the training situations and in a training program? So, I'm looking at for the issues in the training.
Yes, sir. Let's say in case of training, I played a video, and the video was from a movie from 1950. So a person who is like 50 years old, he will be very easily able to attach to that video and he'll find interest.
Yeah.
But a millennial may not find interest in a video or a song which is being played like old melodies.
Okay. Yeah. So the content itself could be that it can be liked by people of one age,
Yes, sir.
may not be.
Yes.
Anupam has raised hand. Anupam would like to say something. Yeah.
Sir, as far as I
Yeah.
feel, age has primarily got to do with experience and consequently with the perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
The perception to the same event across the various age groups would vary. And that is where harmonizing the requirements of everyone into that a standard training design will be a challenge. That is where the difference of age comes in. The way a 20-year-old would perceive an event and the way a 50-year-old will perceive the event are entirely different. This is entirely borne out also by the fact as to what are the job preferences today vis-a-vis what were the job preferences 30 years back. So that is where the age difference comes in.
We are talking of a program where people come because they want to they have similar learning needs, but now they are
No, sir, I agree, sir. The learning needs may be similar, but still the way two people with different age in different age groups are going to perceive the same event or the same design is going to be different.
okay.
That is
So
what needs to be harmonized.
yeah, so how they react to the
Same thing would be different, sir.
right. Okay, so some more participants have raised hands. Yes, who is yeah,
Yes, sir.
Juhi, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, sir, an example in the training domain could be as simple as taking a training method also. Some people who are in the age group of 40s or 50s may be comfortable with a lecture method, shown some pictures along with that. But a millennial might get more interesting if it is having some videos as a content, and if they are using some e-learning as a method. So
Okay.
this could be a very simple difference.
Okay, okay, fine. So there will be differences, and one has to be bothered about it. If there are if this is a very sharp differences, one has to actually really take as an important part of the design that it does not create a problem in terms of the group dynamics, right? Okay. So let's look at issues like race. There are, there will be examples when you will be having people from different, I would use this next one also, ethnicity, race, similar diversity. In fact, sometimes when we do the international programs, we do have this whole issue of, race, people from Africa also there and people from China or, Southeast Asia are also there. So you do find that there is a mix-up of the races. And what really happens is that because of this, there are also serious cultural differences. And one has to be, very sensitive to the cross-cultural issues which are there. And though there are no easy answers, but whenever you happen to be going into a program and conducting a program for people with this sort of diversity, we have to be aware of this. So you see, for example, if you are conducting a program in Dubai, and there are some locals also, and there are people who are based in Dubai, right? But they are Indians, they are Pakistanis, and things like that. So now, it's very easy for us to be in India and talking about, say, Pakistan as a neighbor which is inimical to us, and etc. etc. But the problem is that if suppose you are working in and you are working in Dubai and working with colleagues who are from Pakistan, how do you handle that? Or if your boss is from Pakistan and you are working in a multinational organization, it's not a Pakistani company, it's a multinational one. So how do you handle that? That is where, a sensitivity is. So the type of examples, the type of sort of, neutral examples you are going to take is very, very important. You should never, you should be very sensitive to, such issues. For example, once I was doing a particular exercise for a group which had some people from China, some from Southeast Asia, Indians, and like that. Now, what happened was I did this exercise at okay, and I said, okay, let's see if you are at the age of 50 and you are, organizing or your birthday party. So normally this is what we do. We have achieved a significant stage in your life. You are 50-year-old. It's a golden jubilee for you, and throwing a party. But there's one person who was from China. He kept quiet. He did participate. So when we looked at and inquired from him, he said, "No, we don't do that. We don't throw a party. When I am 50-year-old, others give me party." Now, see, it's such simple thing was a difference, and this we came to know. So similarly, some other exercise, other situations where we know that the changes, the differences in race and ethnicity create differences. In fact, within India also, in terms of ethnicity, I'll tell you that we have programs where we have people from different states, and you can, if you have handled people, say from Northeast, Manipur, Mizoram, and also people from Kerala or from Gujarat, the diversity is quite a huge diversity, right? So that also lead to what is called the regional diversity, plus also what is called the linguistic diversity, right? Okay, so that is where one has to understand that the say, okay, fine. For example, if this is linguistic diversity, one of the key issue that you will find is uh, the way people pronounce the things. So pronunciation, the choice of vocabulary, these become very important things. So one of the Americans who was doing a program in the Martin, when he came in the program, he started talking to the people, and then for about half an hour, he was only getting a sense of what people are saying, how they are saying, but he was doing it by talking to individuals before the program starts. So he had that half an hour. So the program was to start 9:30, but he was there at 9. But this 9 to 9:30, he did not use it for anything else but to interact with the participants, because he said that my ears don't catch the way you pronounce something, so I have to get familiar. So my this half an hour is what I'm using to get familiar with you. Similarly, we had one challenge when we were, and I'll talk about that a little later also. The challenge was that we had 24 participants in a program, which all the 24 were from different countries, and each one had a different type of pronunciation, etc. So and mind you, though the program was supposed to be in English, the program was uh, program was not you know okay, sorry, I just fumbled on that aspect. The program was in English, but for a fairly large number of those people who were participants in that program, the English was not their mother tongue or the basic language. See, for Indians, most of the Indians who are well educated, English becomes, in fact, more like a mother tongue only, because they start even thinking in English. You know, many of you would have experienced this, that in the beginning you were all thinking in your own mother tongue, but maybe Hindi or Gujarati or Punjabi. But as you grow older and you get more educated, and your education is always in the medium of English, many of well-educated people, I find, they start even thinking in English language. Now, this makes us very different from the people for whom the English is a second language. So there was a big challenge in terms of this language issue, right? Okay. So religion could be another one. How could religion be challenge in the program? Anybody who would like to share? Nobody? Okay, fine. I'll tell you. See, if you have in your program some Muslim participants. Typically, they have many of them. They go for namaz, right? And so your scheduling has to be such that you allow people to go for the prayer at the at that specific time. Now, it is also that many times our scheduling of a program on a Friday, where we have certain Muslim participants also, we have to do it in such a way that they go for a longer time for their religious prayers, right? And these are the things which we have to keep in mind, right? In fact, in some places we might even have to see that if we are holding a program in a hotel, then is there a prayer room, a separate prayer room or not, right? So even that becomes the issue. Now, cultural, I have already given some examples, but yes, there are going to be fairly good sort of, cultural diversity that we have to be aware of, and we have to, we have to sort of, be, uh, I would. Yeah, so there is cultural diversity. Anybody would like to share um share any example of this? Yes. Anybody? Hmm. No hands are being raised or something? Or yeah, are you using? Oh, sorry, I have.
Sir, we can give an example of cultural
Yeah.
factor is like, let's say if you go to have some sort of learning in a monastery, and they'll start with some sort of mantras which may not be useful for you, or you might find it uninteresting because you are not aware of it,
Yeah.
but they have a culture of. Similarly, if you go in DAV schools, I remember earlier days when students they went to Arya Samaj schools, they have mantrocharan earlier before they start the class and at the end of the class. So it might attract a few, but at the same time it can be not very good for someone else.
Yeah. So okay. So there's a religious cultural type of sort of thing, which in fact, like about a year ago, I had gone for a teachers training to a school which was a Satsai school. So there was certain sort of things which they would do the prayers in their own manner, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is okay. There was something else also coming to my.
So the another example can be, I mean, the way people greet, like in the United States or maybe in France, like, kissing is
Yeah.
very common, but that actually can be taken in a bad taste here in India because we have a different cultural approach
Yeah.
towards greeting. So
Yeah.
again, that can be one example.
Yeah. I was once handling a group of participants from Afghanistan. It was in India only, in Delhi only. They had been invited to a program, and they were doing it. But one thing which I found was very different from the different in that group is that every time if I ask a question and they start answering the question, they would say, I don't exactly remember the phrase, but in the name of Allah, etc., etc. So that for anything that they start their answer or any thing, they would first speak in the name of Allah, by the grace of Allah, etc., etc. That sort of thing. So I don't exactly remember, but that was an issue. So it looked irritating in the beginning, but then I said, well, that's what it is. If that is so, that is so. I have to be sort of aware of this and live with that, right? So that's what happens. And within this also, we should understand that the within India itself, that cultural diversity is so much that one has to be not only sensitive to this, but one should respect the cultural diversity. And in fact, it is always useful if one is able to pick up a bit from that culture and different culture and use it as part. If you are addressing a group of Tamil participants in Tamil Nadu or so, or maybe outside also, and if you are taking example of what's called the Thirukural's sort of poems, who is a very old poet, well renowned and all that, right? Of course, several centuries ago he lived and all that. You would find that you will be able to make a very good connection with the participants. So we go back to the next slide in that. Okay.
So here I would like to add one more factor.
Yeah.
Time zone of individuals, because when we are actually dealing with individuals across the globe nowadays, since we have started using Zoom, and in earlier cases also, like there were training programs which were organized on BBC or some other channels which were broadcasted. So there you have to specifically mention if it is IST, GMT, what is the time of the program. Another thing is the program should be viable and should be comfortable. Like if a program is organized here in India and there are participants in the United States, there is a time of 12 hours which we have to consider. So we actually schedule the program in a way which should be convenient for people in India and also in the United States.
Yes, yes. In fact, all people who are working across the continents, and in fact, in many of the regional offices of multinationals, you have this coordination with people from different countries. They schedule their video conferences, keeping this issue in mind, that who would be present in the office at what time, and they find a via media, and that is what they try to sort of that information they try to use it during in scheduling the conference. Similar thing for the training events also, that you have to understand what will be the time of the day in other countries from where the participants are really coming. Okay, good. Thank you. Right. Let me. Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though there is a difference in a dress code at times because of the cultural shifts, so the companies actually try to give one common in their annual meetings, a T-shirt or fine, so that people feel united and with common goal.
Yeah, and sometimes it may not work all that well also, right? Okay, sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. Right. Okay, now we come to another set of see functional. Many training programs will have people from different functions coming in. Like, for example, general behavioral programs, we do have people from finance also, operations also, etc. So if there is a program on interpersonal skills, you can, you will have people from different, functions. Now, this does create a challenge, plus this also creates a opportunity for you to be able to utilize examples from different functions, right? Say for example, if suppose you are doing a program on Excel, Excel, and the people are from operations, and you are giving them an example of what is called the finance area, they will say, ये तो हमारे काम का नहीं है. But then you have to actually have 2 or 3 examples which are from different functions. So depending on which type of group you have got, if there is a functional diversity, you will have to keep the content aligned with those functions, right? Now it comes to hierarchy or the status level in the organization, plus also the tenure, then plus also the experience. These are all the things on which people sort of could differ, and this does present a certain sort of problem. For example, if you have people with very high, those who are high in hierarchy, and they are part of your program, and this hierarchy is hierarchy in the organization. Now, what will be the challenge that will be coming? If suppose a person who is senior level has said something which is not correct, which has to be contradicted, how will you handle that? Right. So go ahead. Tell me, have you experienced this? Have you ever seen this? Yes.
Sir, usually in training programs, when there are different designations of people, I mean at different levels, they are involved for the same training. There is always a a discomfort for the lower level people because they may not be able to speak up whatever they have in their mind. So usually the trainer, to make them more engaged, they start up with some games or sort of other activities which enables them to speak more.
Okay. So very, very good. In fact, you brought out the another aspect, and that is that the people who are junior may not open up in front of their seniors, right? That also becomes a problem. In fact, what is important is for doing such programs, right at the start, you have to create norms, and you have to say, here you are as participant, and every participant is equal to every other participant. Like how you say it, how do you deliver this, that's a different thing that requires a certain sort of diplomacy, or the very, very tactful way you have to say. And but you have to say that here you are all equal, there is nobody who is in fact it happens. In fact, when the Ministry of Program Implementation had been formed at that point of time, I was in NTPC, so Ministry of Program Implementation said that we don't know how to really go about it, and we want to learn your techniques of a program and project monitoring. So we conducted a program for them, which was a full day program, and here the secretary of the department, it was department at that point of time. Now it is a ministry. So secretary of the department plus the right up to the section officer. They were only at the start only about 16, 17 persons. They all were there, right? But we did conduct a full day program and went on quite well. But yes, it creates a challenge. It is, in fact, you have to be as a trainer, you have to be very sensitive to the nuances. In fact, that is one big issue that comes, right? Okay. So there will be differences in terms of sort of, the tenure of the person. Sometimes some people are on a full-time tenure, some of them are part-time, right? The experience, length of experience differs, the type of experience differs, and therefore there are certain sort of, preconceived notions of what we will call a biases, which they are there, and we might have to handle that. In fact, people coming from different industries and being in the same program, in fact, many times helps the people to move away from their tunnel vision, means tunnel or what's called the blinkered thinking they might be having. And that is why many times we do send the people to industry, multi-industry programs, only to ensure that they do not have the blinkers of our industry only. Now, there is also the difference in the terms of time orientation. Many times you have in the Western, because they believe that there is going to be one life and one life has to be lived fully. So you start from the birth and the end at this, and that's all. That's all. Indian culture, particularly the Hindu philosophy, is about that this is one birth and you will die and you will again take the birth. And so there is a whole cycle will keep going. So our orientation and many of other, Asian countries, the time orientation is cyclic, whereas Western cultures, they have the linear sort of, time orientation, and that does create some type of sort of, differences in terms of how they decide, how they conclusion, what criteria are more important to one versus another. With this, we also come to what is called the prior learning. We have taken this earlier, but we should really be acknowledging whatever is the learning of the people beforehand, and should also be able to utilize uh, uh, quite good prior learning that some people have in the group for the advantage of our training program. IQ differences means in terms of how quickly one person absorbs and another person takes some more time to absorb. So how do you do this? That when this is a challenge which most of the teachers have. In the same class, some students are fast, some students are doing very well, some students are not doing all that well, some are very laggard. Okay, so this happens in the training programs also. So how do you handle this? Yes. Anybody would like to share? No, no hands raised. No nothing. Okay.
So normally we have to look into the group total in totality and what is dominant type of a level. We have to work on that in our pace, and our content has to be focused that way.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fine.
Sir,
Okay.
I will like to add here, we cannot actually, look only on the dominant side. We cannot ignore even 3-4 trainees which are there in the group. I would actually like to know the least, the person who has the lowest level and take the program from there. It may be not that much interesting for everyone for some time, but we will actually request that, since we have to take everything as a team, we actually have to make sure that everyone learns.
Okay. See, okay, let's
May I,
take,
sir?
okay, yeah, please. Go ahead. Who is there? Right.
Sir, Anupam, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I'm Wing Commander Jyoti, sir. Actually, sir, I feel that we have to give an opportunity to the weakest member to ask a few questions. But however, if it is diverting the entire class, we can call that student later on. We can tell him that for other queries, he can come and contact us later, and we can go ahead with the class for rest of them.
Okay, fine. In fact,
Sir, may I,
very
sir?
good. Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay, go.
Sir,
ahead.
this is Anupam, sir.
Anubhav.
So, while designing any training program, there would be a general consensus on the base level of the knowledge that each and every trainee is expected to have while undergoing that program. That base level knowledge is the one which would have to be taken into account by the trainer while formulating his training program. There will always be an odd guy who will be more qualified, who would be knowing a certain amount of things. But the training program cannot be tailored according to his requirements. The bottom line is that the weakest element of the trainer of the group will have to be taken along. Otherwise, the training program may not be a success in that totality.
Okay. So I may not agree entirely with you, because see, what really happens is a very common problem which the teachers experience, but they do it this way. One is, there can always be remedial classes for the one who is a little slow in understanding or is finding a challenge. So keep additional remedial classes, right? That is possible. Further lower, you have to pitch in somewhere in the middle. You cannot pitch in at very high level. You cannot sort of not pitch in at very low level also, right? And you have to do it at the middle level. But what typically good teachers do is they have say they pose problems to the they pose problems to the students. So they will differentiate the problems in 3 buckets: A, B, C. Now, A is something which everyone should have been able to do, right? They ensure that A is the normal basic things which everyone should be knowing, should be able to do. B is something which is a challenge, which most of the people are able to do it. They struggle with it, but they are able to get it. But then, we have got a gifted or a few gifted children in my class. In that case, what do I do with them? The point is, I should not demotivate them. You know what? those gifted children would essentially very quickly complete the things, right? Here the B type of problems also. This is where, as a good teacher, I would give them C type of problems and give them those, and they will then say, now when I'm giving them C type of problems, there is very clear this thing. One, I am straight away acknowledging they are better than everyone else, right? And they also know that they are better than everyone else, right? And then they are also getting a challenge, and they are also getting a opportunity to utilize this time very well. So, at, in this diversity, we have to in fact utilize this, and we have to present the content which is different from for different people. It is possible to do it. Sometimes it is also acknowledgement in another way, when you ask somebody who is quite good at something to be able to help others who are a little weak to be able to or support them. Now they know that they are partly working as, and that working as a tutor is gives them a certain sense of importance and achievement, right? So there are multiple ways in which we can really utilize this. Remember one thing: gifted ones are the best ones in your this also have to be carried along with you, right? And how you do it is the challenge that one has to be prepared for, right? Teachers do it quite well, and trainers also should really, they should not consider that this person is a nuisance, right? Okay.
Sir, may I, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, in the armed forces, as what we say, exactly in the manner in which you are mentioning, we tend to classify our entire instructional material into three heads. One, what is known as must know, which everyone across the board must know. Second part is which is called the should know part, which by and large everyone should be able to, everyone should know to perform at a certain level. And the third is could know, which is only for the top of the lot, who are deemed to be little better than the balance of the class. But the point that I was trying to make earlier was, sir,
yes,
though the group would be diverse, the group needs would be different across the various, I would say, industry domains and all. But in most cases, when you are doing training, you are trying to take the entire group up to a certain level. Yeah. In case too much of a time is devoted to either the bottom part, which would generally be at least about 15 to 20% of the overall group strength, or the top part, which is again going to be another about 15 to 20%, you are not going to collectively achieve the result as a group. So that is something which will vary from domain to domain, but will have to be kept in mind while designing your training program.
Yes, right. Okay, good. That's right. You have to take care of all the three, but the point is your own training objectives could be quite different from all the three categories, right? Okay. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Just a small request.
Lots of noise on your side, so please, yeah.
Some better.
There is some echoing which is taking place on your side, so you are not using the headphones perhaps, right? Yeah, so you can put it on the chat. I can see the chat actually. This is not a problem, right? Okay. Okay. Right. Now I look at another set of factors. One important aspect which was earlier mentioned by one of you is the whole issue of learning style. Learning styles differ, and as you have been attending the sessions on the experiential methods, you have understood the learning styles, etc. Learning styles, as the people have more of preferences of a certain way of learning, certain type of training methods, etc. They respond differently to different methods. As you had also seen experiential learning cycle. There are these 4 stages, and some people will do well on one stage or the other. That they do equally well on the other because learning is completed unless you have really learning experiential learning process, which is experiencing, reflecting, conceptualizing, and taking action or experimenting, right? So that's important, and that's where you have to cause the people to uh, do the things and take necessary sort of give more importance to that part which is their non-preferred part. Now that's something you will keep becoming aware of this, and I would like to utilize it better. Now we come to the personality type. Now we take one framework of personality or we take another one, but we'll do find this sort of challenges which will be coming. Right. Now I am finding it is already 1:17 and we still haven't completed this. So I would like to stop here and take this because on personality type itself I have got more than 10 or 15 minutes of examples, etc. And I will handle this in the next session. But right now, for today's session, whatever we have done, if there are any questions and any comments, etc., please go ahead. Yes.
Sir, I would like you, if you can a little bit emphasize on the time orientation mention that you had made on the.
Yeah. Okay. See, one aspect where we find that in time orientation we would be behaving differently is okay. Behaving differently is in terms of sort of our patience level. Why do you think Indians appear to? Yeah. Uh, please mute yourself. Yeah. Okay. Uh, there's a lot of noise. So yeah. Okay, see, one of the things why do you think are more patient? Essentially, because of our time orientation being cyclical. अगर इस जन्म में सब कुछ नहीं होगा तो अगले जन्म में कुछ कर लेंगे, right? Whereas ask an Westerner, American or European, they say, I want it right now. I want it here right now, and I want to enjoy my life here in this birth only because to me, I don't know whether there is going to be another birth or not. So my view is like that. So one aspect where people are different is the patience. The second is in terms of sort of even in terms of ability to take a I would say a disruption is also quite different. Uh, mm, uh, uh, a Westerner typically in times of challenges, it's a general thing. I'm speaking right now and sharing this, but maybe this can be contested. Will much more easily go to pieces if there is a challenge, whereas an Asian would be more absorbing of the challenges or disruptions, right? So learn about this a little more, and I'll may perhaps give you more examples next time around, right? Okay. Any other question or anything, or shall we close this? Let me stop sharing, and yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Enjoy the things, and I think we are already at the end of May. June is. Let's see how the COVID things pan out in June. You know, there will be challenge, but so what? We'll handle the challenges. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. All the best. All right.